Okay. Hello. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV, a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And today, we have a bit of a show for you, gang. A bit of a debate. So, a couple weeks ago, before my vacation, Staxioms and Lactoid were on one of my shows, and they got into an argument, a debate, if you will. It was slightly off topic, but it was on the Charlottesville incident. In Trump's words, and what he said or did not say, what he endorsed or did not endorse after that event. Staxioms made some claims, and Lactoid took some issues with them. So tonight, we're going to be talking about Charlottesville, Trump's remarks about whether or not he said that there were good people on both sides, and just political violence in general, and whether Trump supports it or pushes it and things like that. And with that, I'm going to give first the floor to Lactoid, and then I'm going to give it to Staxioms, and then we're going to go. So Lactoid, you had the floor, sir. By all means.
Great. So just to give people some context as to what's going on here. I have been on multiple panels now criticizing Joe Biden. Of course, he's out of the race now, but at the time he wasn't. I was criticizing Joe Biden for lying about Trump's comments on the Charlottesville riot. And so specifically the comments that he made during his debate, right? Because this was after Snopes had already investigated this and it turned out to be false, despite the fact that it was obviously false 4 years before Snopes bothered to actually put it out. But that didn't stop Biden from specifically saying, quote, the ones who tried to stop it and the ones who said, I think there's fine people on both sides. What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? That was the comment from Biden. Biden has said this on multiple occasions. He, in fact, attributed the reason for him running was that he heard Trump call Nazis very fine people, and he felt as though for the good of the nation, he had to step up and defeat Donald Trump. The whole thing is based on a lie. There was two speeches that Donald Trump, two main speeches. Technically, there was three, but there was two main speeches that Donald Trump gave on this particular topic. Speeches is a loose term, but I guess comments. One was on August 12th, and the other one was on August 15th. It would have been June, I believe. 1 second.
Nope, it was August.
Okay, August. I was correct then. August 12th and August 15th. On August 12th, I sent us all the full transcript, and on August 15th, I also sent the full transcript. And on neither transcript does Donald Trump call Nazis very fine people. In fact, on neither of these transcripts does Donald Trump say that Nazis are good in any way. On the first transcript, he specifically says that there are bad people, and he condemns hate and bigotry on all sides, and he condemns violence on all sides. On the second speech that he gave, he specifically said that although there were some fine people, this does not include the neo-Nazis or white supremacists because they should be condemned totally. And so Biden lied when he said that Donald Trump specifically referred to Nazis and white supremacists as very fine people. And then Staxioms called me a liar when I said that Biden was a liar. And I took issue with that, and I'm here to defend my good name. I guess my first question, obviously Staxioms can kind of say what he wants during this opening, but my very first question to Staxioms is, can you point to, in any transcript, specifically where Donald Trump called Nazis very fine people?
Okay. Thanks for your opening statement. $5 from Zephyr Hash to say there are bad debaters on both sides of this discussion. Well, I think there are very fine people on both sides of this discussion today. But we're going to give the mic to Staxioms to have his opening statement. Go ahead.
Beautiful. By the way, you guys could call me Hunter. I know my name's a little bit, that's my real name. Okay, so a couple things. I think that there are two main types of lies. I learned this in church when I was 8 years old. There's lies of commission and lies of omission, okay? And I think that Lactoid is speaking very like he didn't commit a lie, but he omitted some facts about the case. I do appreciate him clarifying that there were in fact two separate comments, because very often when people point to what Trump says, they merge these two statements as if they're one statement. And the fact that those are two statements are very, very, very important for reasons that I'll get into. And two, his comments on violence on many sides, because there's not just one thing that people took. There's context surrounding this conversation, and one of the big contexts is that he refused to condemn white supremacists for 2 full days. And he essentially condemned violence and then couched it in language saying that there was violence on both sides. And I'll get into the nitty gritty bit, but I will say, just to answer the question, I think that if we see his comments on there were good people on both sides, right? Which people is he referring to on the other side? After all, this was a Nazi rally. This was attended by the likes of Richard Spencer, Baked Alaska, David Duke, Eric Stryker, Nick Fuentes, James Alsop. This was a rally that was explicitly for Nazis. So I see videos of people marching through the streets with tiki torches, and I'm just curious, which groups of people was Donald Trump talking about when he said that there were good people? Because I think that it's fair to say that the entire rally was Nazis. So calling any of the groups of people in that rally good people is calling Nazis a good people.
Okay, and with that, we'll kind of get into it. I'll guys let you go back and forth if I have questions, if I don't understand what's being said, or if someone's trying to refuse to answer a question, I'll try to pin you down. But other than that, go ahead.
So just so we're all aware, in the first speech on August 12th, quote, "They're great people, but we're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia." Great people is referring to something else. "We condemn in strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides,
Yeah, just to contextualize this comment. If you look at what exactly Trump is doing, and I think the video is kind of important and we can watch it together if you'd like, he's reading a statement that his office had read, and he looks up once he says violence and he clarifies on many sides, and then goes back to reading. I do think that that's important, that essentially his office was interested in saying we should condemn the violence, but he stops his the manuscript that the office had typed up and says, just to be clear, there was violence on both sides. When a Nazi ran over a fucking woman who was counter protesting, and I don't know exactly the violence that they were referring to on the other side.
They were referring to the violence that the counter protesters were doing on the Nazis.
I don't know if I saw. Could you clarify where exactly you saw violence happening from the counter protesters to the protesters?
I'm going to have to, I guess, appeal to the same kind of thing that I appealed with Fanatic. I've read the Wikipedia. Like, there's consistent reports of violence on both sides. The counter protesters were absolutely punching Nazis. There was violence on both sides. In fact, in the very beginning, pepper spray was being sprayed on both sides into each other. So there absolutely was violence on both sides. His statement there of condemning violence on both sides is not inaccurate. I mean, if you think that violence should be condemned on both sides,
sure.
Maybe if you think that violence against Nazis.
No. That's fair. There was pepper spray being used by counter protesters to protesters, and that is a form of violence. I agree, but I do think that Donald Trump did draw a moral equivalence, which is something that Biden was hitting really hard, which is that he was drawing a moral equivalence to neo-Nazis marching and counter protesters who were frustrated with neo-Nazis marching. I guess my question is, if what do you think, who do you think these people are that they're saying these are good people? Like, who do you think Trump is calling out? Like, could you draw an image of someone who you think that Trump saw and said, this was a good person?
Well, so to be clear, the first speech, when he's talking about good people, it was referring to veterans, because he was just in the prior paragraph talking about veterans.
Correct.
It was the second one on August 15th in which he said, I guess the two sentences that are most relevant, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And then like one paragraph later, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists. Okay,
Yeah, I
that's
think
what he said.
Yeah, so I think we should really draw our attention to the August 12th transcript, because it's notable he does not condemn white nationalists, he does not condemn Nazis, and if you watch the video, there are many times where journalists stop him and they say, "Hey, how do you feel about white nationalists?" And he pivots the conversation away from that topic towards the veterans bill that he was there to sign. He has ample opportunity to condemn white nationalists and he chooses not to. He has ample opportunity to condemn the violence that the white nationalists have perpetrated and makes a moral equivalence between the protesters and the neo-Nazis. And I think if you look at any videos of the rally, it's pretty clear the type of organization that this was. I mean, they were chanting, "White Lives Matter, you will not replace us, Jews will not replace us, blood and soil," which is a Nazi slogan. And I guess my question is, what kind of good people would attend that type of chanting, that type of protest? And I guess my question is, who is Trump referring to then, if not Nazis?
So again, the question: if you think that Trump was wrong, it was like on the factual basis that there were non-Nazis at the rally, that could be true. It could be that every single person there was like an avowed white nationalist and a Nazi. It could be that some of the people there were protesting the removal of the monument there, the Civil War monument, to the Confederate. I think that was a Robert E. Lee.
Correct.
monument.
It's Robert. It was a Robert E. Lee statue.
So he could have been under the impression there was people there who were not Nazis, but simply protesting the removal of that monument. Now, if you want to say that he was wrong on that he was factually wrong, then in reality, he wasn't referring to anybody, because you could just say that he was wrong when he was like praising the non-existent people because they were all Nazis, but he's already condemned all the Nazis totally. So when you say like, "Oh, I'm going to condemn all the men in this room," but there's no men in this room, you're not condemning anybody.
Yeah,
right?
but
if you're gonna
There's at
praise
least
all
one
the men
man
in this room, sure. But I'm just saying, like, if there is no man in a room, and then you praise, like, okay, I'm gonna like very fine men in this room, no men in the room, that means that you're just mistaken. You're wrong on the fact that there
Okay.
are men in this room. But it's different than saying things like, "and the women should be condemned totally," because or the men should be condemned totally, because if there is no non-white nationalist there, then he condemned everybody at that rally.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Let me do a little bit of a metaphor. So let's say I go to a rally, okay? And I go to a meeting because my friend says that I would really enjoy it there. And there's a bunch of people who just happen to be wearing some white hoods, okay? And I'm just drinking some coffee, and I have a really pleasant conversation with someone who's right next to me. And we talk about how, white replacement theory, and it's honestly a pretty stimulating conversation, and I'm really enjoying my conversation. Then someone asked me afterward, "Bro, what the fuck? You were at a KKK rally." And I was like, whoa, I don't like KKK members, but I had a blast talking to some of those people. Okay. Now, do I like them or do I not? Because I condemned that person, right? But I also said I enjoyed having that conversation with that person. Does this make sense?
I don't think there would be anything wrong with going to like a KKK rally and having a conversation with a Klansman that you happen to enjoy. The question is, what are your beliefs, right? What are you advocating for?
I think that as a president,
journalists go to these things all the time and have conversations with them.
Of course, but they wouldn't say this was a great person. As soon as you say this is a great person,
but he's not calling them the great people. It would be like calling the journalists the great people who are going to talk with them, the non-Nazis at the rally.
Okay, my point is he watched, and he makes this explicit. He said, "I watched the same exact videos that everyone else did. The ones with them carrying the tiki torches and shouting, 'You will not replace us.'"
Jews will not replace us, is what he said what they said specifically.
It was interchanged. But yes, they said both. He watched those videos and he says, "Well, some of these are good people." He wasn't talking about some random journalist insurgents some random journalist who was just like integrated into the crowd. He was talking about the people chanting those slogans. And I guess my
No,
question is,
he
how are
wasn't
those
talking
not
about those people.
Nazis?
He wasn't talking about those people because he specifically said, quote, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally.
But there's
There
no
was-
other
there-
people. There's
there
no
was-
other people.
Okay, then he was simply incorrect about there being non-Nazis there.
Okay.
There are other videos, by the way, where they're not marching with the tiki torches, where it's during the day and they're protesting. And there's some videos where people who are not like very clearly Nazis, you could say that they are, but they're not very like visibly Nazis. They're just wearing white shirts and have Trump hats on. He could have seen those videos, seen them wearing Trump hats on, right? You know, the great defender of Israel. And obviously they're not Nazis. They're wearing Trump hats. Those are the good people. Now the Nazis, the ones chanting those terrible things and donning the swastikas and waving the flags, not those people. Those people are terrible. I just like the good people. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe they're all Nazis, but that is not the same as him praising the Nazis when he specifically discounts that. When he specifically says, not the Nazis. And the reason why this is relevant is because this is during the same speech that he said the fine people comment, the one that Biden has consistently misrepresented.
Wait, sorry. This is the same. Wait, what comment? And the very fine people?
The August 15th speech
transcript
was this was so he said the fine people comment, the one that everyone freaked out about, the one that Biden keeps referencing, and a paragraph later he specifies, going through a lot of back and forth with a lot of the media, and then he says, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally. What does condemned totally mean?
Okay. Here's my problem. I think that sometimes we have these conversations and we're pretending like we're autistic. Like there's no form of context or nuance to some of these conversations. Here's what happened, okay? Let's say I have this friend and he has like a swastika on his neck, okay? But I obviously think Nazis, bad people, okay? Because I'm a red-blooded American, okay? I don't like the Nazis. But this is my friend. I love my friend. Okay, he's my best friend. Sure, does he go a little overboard sometimes when he talks about how Jews are controlling everything, the media and everything? Sure. But he's my best friend. Do I condemn Nazis? Absolutely. But also, this is my best friend, and I love him. But so I also hate them, but I also love them. Do you understand what I'm saying? That like it's as soon as you apply the label, then they go, whoa, no, never mind. But as soon as you look at the individual, then they go, hell yes. And I think that's my problem with Trump, is he essentially looks at the individuals and he goes, these are good people. Of course, Steve Bannon, Stephen Miller, like I want to put you in my cabinet. Now,
he doesn't know these people at the protest.
Sorry?
He doesn't know these people at the Unite the Right rally.
He doesn't know who David Duke was. He doesn't know who Richard Spencer is.
I don't think he knew the attendees of that rally. Do you think he knew that David Duke was there?
No. But one, yes, he did. He for sure did. Two,
how do you know that?
Because he says something about Richard Spencer.
And on which day? On which day did he say something?
August. I would have to double check. But this is I'll actually drop this specific argument because I really want to capitalize on a different part. Okay, let's say my thing is he might not know these individuals by name, but he sees them wearing like a red Trump hat and he goes, obviously these are my people. Do they espouse hating Jews? That's okay. As soon as you apply the Nazi label to them, then he goes, whoa, okay. I don't know if I agree with this anymore. I don't know if I like Nazis.
Just a fact check here. In the August 15th speech, he does reference Richard B. Spencer and Jason Kessler, both white nationalists, and David Duke is in his speech, right? So he talks about
that. Okay, and this is the 15th one. This is the 15th one, the same one where he's condemning them totally.
I think that it's really important to look at what is in front of him, what manuscript he's specifically reading from, and then when he's off the cuff, he specifically distances himself from the language that he himself just read. And I think that the reason why this is important is because he faced a ton of backlash from his own side after his August 12th speech. You had people like
they clipped it and shipped it.
Wait, hold on. What did they clip of the August 12th speech?
No, not the 12th one. He was getting
but that's not what. That's what I'm talking about.
The 15th one they clipped and shipped.
Sure. Okay, then you didn't hear me. I'll repeat what I said. August 12th happens, okay? He refuses to condemn Nazis. He refuses to condemn white nationalists. Journalists say, hey, how do you feel about white nationalists? And he goes, I want to talk about it, and walks away, okay? And then he comes back later and journalists say, hey, by the way, how do you feel about bigots? How do you feel about Nazis? How do you feel about white supremacists? And he goes, well, let's talk about the veteran bill because that's really what I'm here for. I refuse to go into this kind of stuff.
So
Okay.
just for context, I'm going to read his, from the 15th speech, I'm going to read the whole paragraph, right? The whole spiel, just so everyone gets the correct context.
Just to be clear, that's not what I'm talking about yet, but that's totally fine.
Well, what are you referencing then?
August
Referencing
12th.
the 12th one where he said,
The 12th
where we condemned in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides.
Okay. Continue. I'll
one.
get to the other part when you get to it, but go ahead.
Sure. So he reads this statement that his office clearly, and he's looking down at the paper, and then he gets to, we condemn violence. He looks up and he goes, on many sides, just by the way, on many sides. And then he goes back to it. He's asked to condemn white nationalists. He's asked to condemn Nazis. Then the Republican base freaks out. You have Marco Rubio tweeting, hey, what the hell is wrong with you? You had Orrin Hatch tweeting, hey, we need to condemn Nazis. What the hell are you thinking? You have Cory Gardner tweeting, hey, what the hell? What are we thinking? Obviously, it's easy to condemn Nazis. How are we missing this? 2 days later, he goes to make a speech, and then he goes, hey, just so you know, I condemn, he reads down his little paper, I condemn Nazis, I condemn white nationalists, obviously. Then he looks up and he goes, all right, well, there's also good people. There's also good people there. So, like, stop criticizing them so much. I feel like that contextually is what's important about this conversation, is that he had the opportunity and he refused to do so off the cuff to condemn white nationalists and Nazis, which what a fucking bar what an easy bar to get over as a politician. And all of his other side was saying, what the hell is wrong with you? He finally changes his thing because he reads a little manuscript that his office used there. The office was like, dude, Trump, what the hell are you thinking? It's so easy to just condemn white nationalists and Nazis. And he goes, fine, I will. I'll read the piece of paper. But also there's good people there. There's good people in that crowd, just so you know. But like, what good people? We all have seen the videos, and it's just tiki torches of people screaming, "Jews will not replace us." And my question is, how on earth?
Every video.
Okay, if you could show me a video that Donald Trump might have been watching where he went, hey, maybe there's some good people in this crowd, I would love to see it. But my question is, since we know that Donald Trump saw videos of the rally, what on earth do you think he was watching where a fair interpretation is, hey, there's probably some good people in here?
So I recall at the time I was watching some videos of it, and it wasn't fully clear to me that everybody involved was a Nazi. It just wasn't fully clear. We're asking Donald Trump on the day it's happening, by the way, to have full knowledge of the makeup of the group. And based on the videos that are coming out, I didn't think that it was completely obvious that every single person there was a Nazi.
Just to be the reason
Hold
clear.
on.
Let Lactoid finish.
Well, no, because it's the 11th and going on to the 12th, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 12th.
But he was talking about the 11th.
Well, he could have also been talking about the 12th because it was going
he
on
makes
the 12th.
It clear. He makes it clear on the 15th that he was only referring to the 11th, and that the 12th is when the bad actors started interfering. We can look at the 15th transcript if you'd like, but he makes it really clear that the night before was chill, and then the day afterward was when Heather Heyer died. So he said that's when the bad actors were implemented into the. And we can read that transcript.
No. We can, because that's actually not true.
Okay.
Right here, I can. This is what it says. No. There were people in that rally the night before, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there was some bad ones. The following day, it looked like some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. What it appears to be is that Donald Trump is under the assumption that on the night before, that yes, there were bad ones, but there were some people that were quiet. And that shit really got out of control with the Nazis the day after. Right. You can disagree with them on like the factual like timeline here, but I mean, keep in mind again, this is okay. The night before, we're talking about a ongoing rally. This is like in the moment. He's there to sign a veterans bill. He's there to talk about veterans, and they're asking him questions about something where it's not actually 100% clear what's going on the ground. I mean, keep in mind, there are plenty of non-Nazis that protest things like the removal of statues of Robert E. Lee. There's plenty of Nazis that do it too, but there's also plenty of non-Nazis. There's also plenty of Antifa and violent counter-protesters that will attack people who protest the removal of Robert E. Lee, even if they aren't Nazis themselves. The reason why what you're saying is like weapons grade cope is we are so far away from what my initial claim was, which was that Biden lied. When Biden said that Trump referred to the Nazis, I read it on the transcript. When he referred to the Nazis as very fine people, that was obviously a lie. If now what we're talking about is, I think Donald Trump didn't do a good enough job at condemning the Nazis as quickly as I would like him to, that should have been the fucking talking point of Joe Biden. That would have not been a lie. Maybe I wouldn't have agreed with it, but that would have not been a lie because in his opinion, Donald Trump should have condemned it quicker. But that's not what he said. He said that he called them very fine people. But in the exact same speech that he said very fine people, he specified that he was not talking about the Nazis and he was not talking about the white supremacists, which includes the people marching with the torches saying Jews will not replace us. Those are the bad people that he's referring to, right? Obviously.
Right. But okay, so
well, hold on.
when
Let me get to the quick of this, just so we can make sure that we are addressing the main point. In your opinion, Staxioms, did Biden lie when he said no? Okay, why is that not?
Because he referred to people in that crowd which were just full of Nazis as very fine people. Now, he did condemn the label Nazis, but he also referred to Nazis as good people. Not Nazis the category, but Nazis the people. Okay. Does this make sense?
Which people? Which people?
The people at the rally. I don't know which specific people he was saying were good people.
Okay, hold on. Was their ideology one of Nazism? Were they Nazis?
I'm saying, okay, here's also a really important thing to really track down, okay? Robert E. Lee was scheduled to be taken down like 6 months before. There were a lot of protesters who were just like, hey, I'm against the removal of the statue of Robert E. Lee. And they happened like back in July, back in June, back in May. But this specific rally was called the Unite the Right rally, where you had Richard Spencer specifically who was over it. And here's also a critical point. Gavin McInnes, who's the founder of the Proud Boys, said that he didn't want to go. He wasn't there at the Unite the Right rally because he didn't want to be associated with neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
It's because, he said, here, I'll quote him, it's a lose-lose situation. If we have a permit and we don't go, it would show that Antifa can shut us down whenever they want. But if we do go, it will look like we're fighting for Nazis we don't like. Here's the thing. If Gavin McInnes is unwilling to integrate with the group, why the fuck is Donald Trump not? Like, how low is this bar for...
He condemned them.
Okay. Like...
Totally, actually.
Like, does this not feel autistic to you? Like, this feels
no,
like...
No, it's not. It sounds like you're being a little bit, autistic, to use that offensive ableist word. You're saying...
Everyone's an autist today,
I'm saying Biden lied. I'm saying Biden lied. There is a fundamental difference here between saying Trump was wrong about there not being Nazis. He should have learned more about the thing. There's something different between saying Trump didn't condemn the Nazis as fast as I would have liked. He when he was condemning them, he was too, I guess, like on board with condemning the counter protesters who were also engaged in violence, of course. But he should have just condemned the Nazis or made it very clear that the Nazis were worse. He should have done this. He should have done that.
Okay.
None of that is what Biden has said repeatedly.
Okay.
Biden said he called the Nazis very fine people.
I have a question for you.
Ask your question. I have a question for Lactoid too.
Okay, cool. Here's my question, okay? Let's say I have a friend who is secretly, okay? He doesn't tell me. He's my best friend.
How many Nazi friends do you have?
I have a lot of them, all right? I'm in Utah, baby. Like,
he's in the Democratic Party. He probably knows.
Oh, exactly. All right. So he is super secret about it, though, okay? He doesn't want to tell anyone, okay? But I go, this guy is my best friend. I have also heard all of his views, and I go, well, that's a little crazy, but honestly, he's kind of a little based. I like what he's saying. I think he's pretty good. Okay. Then someone goes, hey, you're friends with a Nazi. And I go, Nazis? I don't like Nazis. I just think my best friend is awesome, and he's based in everything that he says. As soon as is it fair to say that I think that a Nazi is a good person?
The problem
in that
is,
case.
If
someone were to say, okay, go ahead.
Wait. In this particular case, technically, you would be incorrect when you said all Nazis are bad, right? Or according to you, or that you hate Nazis. Really, what you should be saying is, I like this particular Nazi, but I highly despise his Nazi views.
No, but I like his Nazi views. I heard his Nazi views. He kept saying, "Man, dude,
then maybe you're a Nazi.
I just don't like the label." Exactly.
Wait. Which of Jews will not replace us did Donald Trump agree with?
He heard the videos of them chanting it and refused to condemn the group.
He condemned the Nazis that were chanting it. Name me one thing at the Unite the Right rally that, like, other than some kind of mainstream Republican position, that Donald Trump would have agreed with? Did Donald Trump agree with anything that they said about Jews?
Repeat that? I don't understand your question.
Did Donald Trump agree with anything that they said about Jews?
It's really hard to tell what's going on in his head. I'll agree.
I don't know if he, like, in his head agreed with it. I'm asking. Did he actually agree with it? Did he come out and say, "Oh, that makes sense"?
No, he did not. No, he didn't.
He didn't.
No, he did not.
When you're saying, "Oh, he does like some of their views," which views are you referring to?
I'm implying that when he says that this group has some fine people in it. What fucking people in that group is he talking about? It's a Nazi rally.
He could be referring to a potentially non-existent group of people in which he would just simply be factually incorrect. That wouldn't make him a Nazi sympathizer. It would just make him, I don't know, maybe susceptible to false media, maybe susceptible to misunderstanding how certain things happen. But I'm telling you, I remember watching the videos from that day, and it wasn't explicitly clear that, especially on August 12th, that every single person there was especially from the pictures, was an astute Nazi. The people who were chanting like Jews will not replace us, clearly, obviously. But remember, all there needs to be is a single person there who's not a Nazi, and Trump's technically correct, first of all. But secondly, he doesn't even have to be technically correct on that.
No, he said people, so you need two.
Right, two. At least two in the whole fucking thing. No, you're right, whatever. Technically two. But regardless, even if every single person there was a Nazi, then all you can say is Donald Trump was incorrect when he said that there was very fine people at the rally, because he said the Nazis were not very fine people. So there were no very fine people.
Like that way.
I know. This is the angle, okay? This is very important question, because it goes back to the initial statement that you made that started this, that Biden lied, right? When we're talking about this, and throughout our conversation here, you've again said several times that Trump, well, he could have just been mistaken. Why is Biden for sure lying instead of him just having, again, watched the media coverage, had a misunderstanding of what was said, and then was just factually wrong? Why does Biden have to be a liar, whereas Trump could just be factually wrong?
Well, so it could be true that Trump is lying, I guess, when he says that there were non-Nazis there. I don't know what his motivation would be for that specific lie. I guess I just find that lie incredibly unlikely. When it comes to Joe Biden's statement that he's praising Nazis, he's been consistently repeating this phrase going back a very long time. In fact, he said, like in multiple interviews, for example, that the reason why he decided to run against Trump in the first place was that he called them very fine people. At the debate, he repeated that lie, and he was corrected by Trump during the debate. No, that's been fact-checked. That's not right. Biden then, later on a different interview, I forget who it was with, but it was after the debate, he repeated it again. He repeated the lie again, and he said about how he got into the race because of the very fine people comment. I think that you're right. It is theoretically possible that, despite being corrected multiple times by many people consistently during the debate, he is just refuses to do any form of homework to know that this is a false statement, and he continues to repeat it over and over again. Maybe it's for the exact same reason that Robert Hur said that he wasn't able to be criminally charged, because he's so demented that he stuck maybe 4 years ago when people believe this cockamamie nonsense. It's possible. Yeah. So, but here's the thing. If he's not a liar, he is a consistent purveyor of misinformation. And I thought that you guys were against that. I thought you guys were like, oh, Donald Trump, he lied during the debate. Well, technically, you don't even know that he lied. Maybe he believed it, right? We're going to go with the same logic. So we got two presidents up there that are just wrong a whole bunch. And I'm saying that he was wrong. And for some reason, you're disagreeing with me when I'm saying that he was wrong, because he was wrong. Donald Trump did not refer to Nazis as very fine people.
Okay. Let's say Donald Trump saw, do we agree, just like using our understanding of the English language, okay? Donald Trump saw a video, and he saw two or more people and he looked at them and he said, those seem like fine people. Okay? Let's call them John and Joe Smith. Okay? John and Joe Smith. Then it turns out John and Joe Smith, they were Nazis. Did he not just call John and Joe Smith very fine people? And if we use the power of substitution, which is a very powerful tool in the English language, he then called Nazis very fine people?
No. What if he said John and Joe? What if he said like these two people? They're very fine people unless they're Nazis. Then they're not fine people. Then they should be condemned totally. Did he praise them if it turns out that they were Nazis later on?
I think that is a deeply like that just that.
How about you answer the question? Did he, if he specifies, if they're Nazis, they're not fine people, but they look like fine people. They're fine people. But if they're Nazis, they're not. Did he call them fine people when it later turns out that they're Nazis? Because he put a caveat there. The caveat was, if they're Nazis, they're not fine people.
Okay, fine. I'll agree with you. But I think that then Donald Trump really does a poor job of analyzing people and fucking considers a lot of people who are Nazis very fine people.
Sure. Maybe he doesn't.
So wait, hold on. So essentially what you're saying is that he considers...
You're both yelling at each other.
I said sure, and then you caught on to that.
I'll stop talking.
Yeah. So I'm saying, sure, it's possible that he referred to people as very fine people without knowledge that they were Nazis. This is not the same as him calling Nazis very fine people, right? That was the specific statement from Biden.
And just to be clear, Staxioms, to be clear, you are conceding that, in fact, the statement was as Lactoid says. Is that true?
I think that's a deeply non-nuanced consideration of what was said. I think that like if you look at it, there's a huge difference.
Sure, you could take all that, but just for the record, as stated.
I'll concede it for the moment. But I also think that it's
so Biden was wrong.
But I also think that you would so if he instead said, okay, Donald Trump referred to people who were Nazis as very fine people, that's a factually correct statement? Like that's all Biden would have to do to adjust that statement and it would be accurate?
Well, no, because he wasn't pointing out anybody specifically.
But he was in his mind because he said there were.
Wait, no. He was not identifying anybody specifically when he said that.
I'm going to read what he said.
There were very fine people, but not the Nazis. So going back to what I just said, if they turned out to be Nazis, which a lot of them did, then they weren't very fine people.
He was referring to some people who were Nazis as very fine people, correct?
Well, no, not necessarily. He couldn't.
You think there was no one in his mind when he said there were fine people on both sides?
He could have been imagining somebody, perhaps, that wasn't there. He could have been imagining people that weren't there. He could have been looking at pictures of people that maybe they weren't Nazis. He could have been seeing people in the protests.
No, wait, hold on.
And identifying them as not Nazis. There was a lot of other people there that weren't necessarily affiliated with either protesters
at
or
this
the
point
counter-protesters.
in the conversation. I think it's important to actually just go through and read this. It'll be quick.
Thank you.
I'm going to read from the August 15th statement. I'm going to start when the reporter asks, the neo-Nazis started this thing, they showed up in Charlottesville. I'm going to start there. It's a really quick read. I'm going to read the thing he said, and there's two statements he makes. And I think just for the context, it's important, right? Because we're all making these discussions and things like that. So he says, excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group. Excuse me. I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group who were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, statues of George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now, are we going to take down his statue? So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists because they should be condemned totally, but you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group, also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and the helmets and the baseball bats, and you got a lot of bad people in that other group too. The reporter then jumps in and says, "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly? I don't understand what you're saying." Trump then responds, No, there were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the Robert Lee Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest, because I don't know if you know, they had a permit. And the other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this, there are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country, a horrible moment, but there are two sides to the country. So that is the crux of this situation, gang. My question for Lactoid in this, right? Because you were referring to how Trump was referring to the people during that day. But he says in his second statement that he's looked the night before, right? He was talking about the night before that he looked, right? That, to my knowledge, is when they had the tiki torches. Is that correct? Am I wrong?
That's
on that?
correct. Lactoid can answer for himself, but
Sure. So
I believe that to be correct.
Were those the quiet ones, right? Because he's specifically referring to, I guess, some picture he saw of people protesting quietly.
Mm-hmm. I can't see any picture of people protesting quietly. I see a lot of people shouting while holding tiki torches. I'm not saying that, but here.
So he's not referring to those people.
Who is he referring to then?
He's referring to, I guess, some people that he believed were there quietly.
But
maybe he saw a picture.
So you're essentially saying,
because he's saying the Nazis were not the fine people. The Nazis should be condemned totally.
Okay, wait, hold on.
And he's identifying the group of non-Nazis as people there who are protesting quietly. So obviously, it's on face value. If they're quiet, he's obviously not referring to the people with tiki torches that are shouting. Obviously. What did he mean by quiet?
Or, hear me out. My perception of the events, considering I'm against Nazis, is different from Donald Trump's perception of the events because some of them were wearing MAGA hats. Is that a fair assessment?
You could perceive anyone with a MAGA hat as a Nazi.
Oh,
sure.
please!
I believe that.
Oh, please!
I believe that you people operate that way.
Fuck
sure.
you!
Yes,
unbelievable.
Yes.
I've never called you a Nazi, and I think you'll vote for Donald Trump.
You don't know how I'm going to vote. I don't know how I'm going to vote yet.
Oh, please.
I'm
Mr. Heritage Foundation.
I'm definitely no, not Heritage Foundation. You're talking about the Federalist Society.
Federal? Yeah, you're right.
Okay, that's very different.
You're right.
Kamala Harris isn't even a consideration. Let me be clear. I'm not going to pretend that the Democrats are potentially going to get my vote. Absolutely.
Did you vote for Donald Trump in 2020?
I vote no. I voted Libertarian Party the past two elections. Okay. So, it's possible that I vote for Trump this time. It's possible that I vote for Chase Oliver. I've read his platform.
Okay, just to be so clear, just because this is a nonsense talking point, I have tons of family who are Trump supporters. I have zero family who are Nazis.
You're right. I have conservative friends. I can't possibly have these beliefs. I can't possibly think.
Huh?
Yeah.
You just said that I would treat anyone who's a Trump supporter as a Nazi, and I'm saying
you
might
believe your family. In fact, you were talking about all the Nazi friends you have. That they're Nazis, but they tend to be friends.
Okay, Lactoid, he was engaging in hypotheticals there.
He seemed to have those examples right on the tip of his tongue. I don't know how hypothetical they were.
True.
The point I'm trying to make here is that, again, I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again. There are places that you could honestly criticize Donald Trump, even if I don't agree with those criticisms. You could say Donald Trump should be better when it comes to reading the news. Hold on. When it comes to reading the news and getting all the facts on the ground before coming to assumptions about what people are where, you could say that
I think that's really dishonest. But go ahead.
No,
he's not reading the news. He has advisors coming to him.
Okay,
he's the president of the United States.
Hold on. Staxioms, are you calling Lactoid dishonest again?
Well, again? I think that saying that Donald Trump is just reading the news as if that's all of the facts that he has access to is deeply dishonest given the position of the president of the United States. Yes.
I don't think that the only information that Donald Trump gets is from the news. He's the president. He was the president. Obviously, he has advisors. Do you really believe? This is my point. Do you really believe that when I said that I was referring to the fact that he only gets his news from the news?
No, but I think it's a lie of omission.
No. No, it's called lack of charity, complete lack of charity, which is, I think, exactly what you're doing with Donald Trump here, which is that unless he says a specific thing in the way that you want him to, you're going to interpret exactly what he says in the worst way possible. When I said that Donald Trump, read the news or whatever, or you took that, that's dishonest because obviously he gets the news from other places than just him reading the news.
No. The problem is that you're implying he doesn't have access to all of the facts.
I'm not implying that he doesn't have access to other advisors. You are making the assumption that all of the facts were known by his advisors. You're making the assumption that all the facts were all the facts, like the entire fucking detailed Wikipedia page was available on August 12th, that we can actually look through it. Well, sure. Well, then it's perfectly reasonable then, my statement, that we don't know what Donald Trump had access to when he made that statement.
Fine.
And if you want, fine. And if you want to make the criticism that maybe Donald Trump shouldn't speak so quickly, maybe he should have access to all of the facts, instead of commenting on them the day it's happening or the day immediately after the night it happens. That could be a criticism. I might not necessarily agree with you on that criticism, but at least that's a criticism that's based in some level of honesty. Oh, maybe he shouldn't be saying this, even if he turns out to be right. But when Biden is saying, more importantly, not all of us here are unimportant compared to the president of the United States. When we have the president of the United States who has characterized, when we have the president of the United States who characterized his opponent as a liar and spreading misinformation, and him just the lovable, forgetful grandfather, when he consistently is the one repeating this falsehood that Donald Trump referred to Nazis as very fine people, when Snopes, just so we were clear, Snopes said in the title, no, he did not refer to them as very fine people. What Wick just read clearly, in any kind of charity that you would ever give anybody, even somebody that you hate, obviously he was not referring to the Nazis as very fine people.
Okay,
but for some reason, Biden and you seem to continuously push this point.
Okay, so just my question. Let's live in a hypothetical real quick. Live in the hypothetical. Everyone at that rally were Nazis. Is that a fine hypothetical to live in for just 2 seconds?
Sure, 2 seconds.
Okay. So if Biden says, hey, Donald Trump referred to people who were Nazis as fine people, that's a correct statement? Or is that an incorrect statement?
No. What would be correct is Donald Trump said that there were fine people at a rally, but in reality, there were no fine people because he said that the Nazis were not fine people and they were all Nazis.
This is a good time for it. $5 from
that would be the only honest statement
that he could make. To say, what if instead of using the facts laid out before us, Lactoid, I use twisted, convoluted rhetorical fabrications because you've already won twice. Thank you for the $5. Okay, fair enough. So taking hypotheticals off the table for a moment, right? I want to, because I think we're circling the drain a little bit on this. So Staxioms, you've conceded that to the point at hand, right? Lactoid, when it comes to Biden's lying statement, do you stand by that it is a lie?
I think it is a lie. Okay. I will say that there is probably a 95% chance that Biden is lying when he says it, and there's a 5% chance intentionally lying, and there's a 5, maybe 5 to 10% chance that he's just so fucking gone that he doesn't know what he's saying.
Okay. Lactoid, do you believe that there are Democrats out there today, right, or people who are anti-Trump, who sincerely believe that Trump did say that there were very fine people on both sides?
I hear it all the time. Are
they all liars?
No, but are they intentionally doing it, right?
So I think that you may be a little bit Staxioms because I provided you with the transcript right away.
You're calling Staxioms a liar, to be clear.
A little bit.
Okay. Say it with your chest, buddy. Just say, hey, you're lying.
Well, I don't want to make this too interpersonal, but I did link him the transcript the day of, whatever. But there's a lot of people, I think, that were victims of a media misinformation campaign, where I wouldn't call them liars, but I would call them propagators of misinformation, where what happened was the media clip chimped that particular statement, very fine people, and then they would cut it to make it look like he was referring to Nazis. Like, oh, he said very fine people, immediately switch over to a video of the people carrying the torches, right? Oh,
Those were the people that he's referring to.
No, those were not the people that he was referring to.
Who is he referring to then?
Not them, because they were the Nazis.
It's
not
so
them,
crazy how you think language works that if I say that people and it turns out that I'm wrong about that person, it turns out I'm not actually talking about that person.
No. He obviously wasn't referring to those people because those people were the Nazis, which he said does not include those people because they should be condemned totally. And so when you had the media clip that specific thing without including the context of him condemning Nazis, and then simply clip chimp that, put it all over the media, what you did is, I think you've, through misinformation, convinced a lot of people that he supports Nazis openly. He's a fucking Nazi supporter.
I have a question.
Personally, in my real life, I've dealt with people.
Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible that Donald Trump hates the label Nazis and hates the label white nationalists, but also loves them as long as they're just speaking values about Nazism and white nationalism without calling it that explicitly? Do you think that's possible?
No. So based on what these organizations stood for, I think that they have beliefs that are deeply in contradiction with what Trump believes. There's a reason why Richard Spencer has opposed Trump now and why he's more of a Democrat. There's a reason why Nick Fuentes is blasting Trump consistently on Twitter. It's because Donald Trump loves Jews. And these fuckers, their main thing, their one big thing that they all fucking get together about, and
they don't like Jews.
They fucking hate the Jews.
And then they find out that his son-in-law is a Jew, and they freak the fuck out.
Oh my God. Yes,
Jared Kushner, I know.
So no, I don't think that there actually is like an overlap of support where Donald Trump would he doesn't like the label, but he would support them if they called themselves something different, because what they stand for is antithetical to a lot of Trump's foundational values, which is he fucking loves the Jews. And their main uniting factor, what were they chanting? They were chanting, Jews will not replace us.
And also, hold on. And what else? Were they
you will not replace us.
What do you think that's in reference to? No.
Jews. It was a reference to Jews.
You don't think it's in reference to the Great Replacement Theory?
Do you know what the Great Replacement Theory is?
Yes, it's immigration.
The Great Replacement Theory is the theory that Jews are orchestrating it. Specifically.
Orchestrating what?
The immigration. So here it is. Just let me say it, right?
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
This is a conspiracy. We denounce it. It's not true. There's no evidence for it, right? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so the theory is that the Jewish Zionist overlords are importing people from other countries through immigration, opening up the border to pour people in and replace the white population, the ethnic white population of America, for their Jewish ends, whatever they may be, okay? That's the
Jewish ends.
Yes.
But who are they largely immigrating? Because they're not immigrating Jews. They're immigrating Muslims and Mexicans, right? That's what the Great Replacement Theory is.
I did say that this theory makes sense.
Non-white.
Okay.
No. That's fine. I'm just saying that's what the theory says, right? Is that fair to say that they're importing Muslims and Mexicans?
The Jews are for Jewish interests, sure.
Okay. I think that serves Trump's means enough.
So unless you're fucking open border, technically you have some alignment with the craziest crackpot. Yes.
No.
Oh, yes.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes. Because if we allow any immigration, hold on. Because if we allow any immigration from third world countries, hold on. Because if we allow any immigration from third world countries, this would increase the non-white population, which is in line with what the Nazis are saying about the Great Replacement Theory, right?
Here's my problem. Look. Is Donald Trump a Nazi? No, he is not. Okay? Donald Trump is not a Nazi. But Donald Trump sees a forceful, emphatic group who stands for some of the things that he stands for and is willing to get him in the right direction. So he goes, fuck yes. That is my belief of Donald Trump. I think that he is sympathetic to these groups because they share a lot of the same outcomes as he does. Now, you could be a conservative who says we need to shut down the border, but also white supremacists, you guys are fucking psychos. You can do that. That's not hypocritical in the slightest. Donald Trump chooses not to. Donald Trump chooses to go, hey, you guys don't like Muslims or Mexicans immigrating either? Hell yeah, dude. Do I have fucking policies for you? Let's shut down the Muslims entering this country.
Staxioms, if I came into this panel and I asked, and I stated, let's say, I agree with everybody in this panel except for the Democrats, who would I be referring to?
Yeah, I would have to fucking pick your brain as to what the fuck is going on in your head
Sure,
that you're
but
gesturing to people.
Who would I be referring to?
You're not referring to anyone. You're not referring to
Whoa,
anyone.
whoa, whoa, whoa! What do you mean I'm not referring to anybody? I specifically said I agree with people in this room.
Right. I would. Your brain is fucked then. And I would say it's operating outside of how any other human being uses the English language. So much so that I think that you're a medical marvel.
Yeah, sure. These could all be things that Biden could have said, but instead he chose to repeat the lie that he called Nazis.
Or
Staxiom,
you don't know that I'm a Democrat.
Or so when I come in here and I say I agree with everybody in this room except for the Democrats, and let's say I don't know that you're a Democrat. Who in this room do I agree with?
You're referring to me then. You're just wrong.
So I don't agree with you because I added the caveat. Hold on, because I added the very end caveat, except for the Democrats. I don't need to know your politics to now disagree with you if you are a Democrat, right?
But my point is that you are still gesturing to me, and in your head, you're going Hunter and Wick. That is what you're doing in your head, regardless of what you're saying outside of it. That's the people that you're conjuring into your head.
Do you think caveats matter?
I do think they matter. Yes.
So if you say this is,
do you think that's an uncharitable interpretation of what I'm saying?
Well, I think you're being uncharitable about what Trump has said. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that if I were to make a general claim and then put a caveat in that general claim, and then it turns out that the caveat is inclusive of everybody in the sample that I'm referring to, do you think that I'm actually referring to them with the general claim?
Okay, here's what I would say. If you go to the DNC and you go, I like everyone in this crowd except the Democrats, okay? And it's all Democrats. There's not even a Republican journalist there, okay? Somehow. You just go, I would have to look a little bit closer as to what the hell you're saying before saying he's not gesturing to anyone in the room. There's something else going on here.
It's funny because if I went into a room of leftists and I said I only agree with the true leftists, they would all fight to see who's the true leftist.
Yeah, they would. But here, let me hear. Here's a great one. Let's say you, Staxioms, you walk into a pub and you're talking with people and you really like them.
Yeah,
and then you're chatting, you're drinking, you're like, these people are fucking awesome. And then you take one swig of your beer and you said, you know what? I like everybody in this bar except for the Nazis.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they all shave their heads and there's swastikas there. They're all fucking Nazis. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you say that you liked the Nazis?
Yes, I did. I said I liked the Nazis. They weren't Nazis when I knew them. But no. But wait, hold on. Who was I gesturing? No, stop. Who was I gesturing to saying that I liked them?
Unless
Nazis. So I said that I like Nazis.
Unless what?
Unless what? They were Nazis. Unless they were Nazis.
So when it turns out that they're not Nazis, it means you don't like them.
But here's my problem.
Wait. Not only does it mean you don't like them, it means that you never like them.
No.
I'm going to finish the sentence.
Go ahead.
It means that you don't like them, and it means that you never like them because your liking them was contingent. Your liking them was contingent on the fact that they weren't Nazis. So they were Nazis the whole time. They were just hidden Nazis. And that's why you made it clear that the hidden Nazis you weren't friends with. I'm only liking you if it turns out that you're not Nazis. And so turns out they're Nazis. Not only do you not like them, you never like them because you're liking them.
I love everyone in this discussion. I love everyone in this debate except for the pedophiles. Okay, carry on.
Nice.
Well, okay. Yeah.
No. Hold on.
Wick, exactly. What if it turns out one of us is one of those things? Then or now
we're not friends anymore.
For saying
no. Here's the problem with this is the timeline. Let me just read.
Wick is a fan.
Let me just change a little bit. This conversation.
If one of us turns out to be
Let's say I'm in a bar and I say, "Hey, these guys are great." Okay, then they shave their heads and their swastikas. That's your hypothetical. Let me counter that with a hypothetical. What if we're having a drink in the bar, they shave their heads and we see the swastikas, and then I go, you guys are good people except for unless you're Nazis. Wouldn't that be weird? Wouldn't that maybe need a little bit more of a critical eye? Because the problem is he had the facts available that they were Nazis.
You don't know that. You don't know what facts he had available to him on August 12th, do you? Do you know what facts he had available to him? Yes or no?
Yeah, I don't need facts to condemn Nazis.
No.
No.
I'm
not saying you condemn Nazis. No.
Do you know
I'm
what
not talking about
Trump
August
knew?
12th. I'm talking about August 15th. Yes,
Whoa.
he for sure knew 3 days later.
Yeah, he condemned the Nazis 3 days later. I'm talking about on August 12th.
Nope.
No. Do you know what information he had?
No, and I'm not talking about August 12th because he didn't say I like people except for the Nazis. What he did say was, "Hey, there's some violent people, and also I refuse to condemn Nazis."
That's not what he
did.
said at all. He said,
Huh?
"I refuse to condemn Nazis." You think that's what he said?
Okay,
$5.
can we use a little bit of a brain?
He
was
said,
asked to condemn it, and then he chose not to.
He said, "We condemned in the strongest
Jesus.
possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides.
Right? Where do you see anything where he's talking about Nazis and white nationalists, except for when a journalist stops him and says, "How do you feel about white nationalists supporting you?" And he turns around.
You think he should be more proactive in condemning Nazis? I understand that. Maybe Biden should have said that during the debate instead of saying what he said.
$5 from cameraman 502 to say if there was enough info that Trump should know he lost in 2020, there's enough info for Biden to know what Trump actually said.
And if there's enough fucking here's what's really interesting. If we look at the August 15th, just to comment on that, if we look at his August 15th statements, hold on. There's let me see if I can find it. He says something on August 15th. You might remember what specifically he says, where he's like, I needed to have waited until I had all the facts. Right? Something like that. Oh, here we go. The statement I made on Saturday, the first statement was a fine statement, but you don't make statements that direct unless you know the fact, and it takes a little while to get the facts. You still don't know the facts, and it's a very, very important process to me. It is a very important statement. So I don't want to go quickly and just make a statement for the sake of making a political statement. I want to know the facts. If you go back to my statement, in fact, I brought it. Okay. Let's just counter that really quickly. We can fast forward the clock a little bit to I don't know when, like November of 2020. How quick was he to say, "Hey, I won the election," without having any of the facts? And when consulting all of the fucking people in his cabinet, they were all like, "Dude, what the hell are you talking about? No, you didn't win the election." And he's like, No. I don't need the facts. It's interesting when he needs to wait and when he doesn't, is my point. And he needed to wait when he saw the rally. And then when he saw something that profited him, he was like, I don't know about this. Do you think that's a fair point?
We are so far away. We are so far away from me saying that Biden lied.
My point is,
no.
Your gesture
isn't it weird that that Donald Trump, like he on some things that he's like super quick, and then other things that he's not. Like why is he like so quick to say that like Antifa is violent, but yet he doesn't concede that he lost the election? Yeah. Donald Trump might have different standards for different things. He might have different motivations for different things. He might strongly believe. In fact, I've been looking into this. He very strongly began to believe that the election was stolen after he lost Arizona in Maricopa County. That's like beginning, like not the very beginning, obviously, but that's when like he solidified himself as to these motherfuckers stole this shit.
Because that's when he realized he was going to lose the election.
He probably in his mind had like this very solidified belief that he couldn't lose, that he was the best president, that the other president was fucking terrible. This is very different. This is very different than saying he knew that he was referring to Nazis, but he was trying to speak in coded language to like infer that like, yeah, he doesn't like the Nazis, but like he also kind of does like the Nazis.
I think he's hesitant.
He condemned them totally, but he's like he's too hesitant. He's too hesitant to condemn the Nazis. We want him to do it earlier, but that's the exact same thing as saying that he thinks the Nazis were very fine people. Like again, the conflation here is astounding. If Joe Biden went up there and said, "I was there," or "I was watching Charlottesville," and he took so long, obviously I'm speaking way too coherently for him, but let's just say, and he said, like he took way too fucking long to condemn the Nazis. That would be one thing. He wouldn't be like wrong on that factually. Like that's an argument to be had. But that's not what Biden said. That's not what Biden has consistently said. That's not what he said after the debate, after Trump corrected him on the debate stage. He continues to say it. He continues to say it to this day.
All right, here's my question.
Even when you admit that he was wrong.
When did I admit that he was wrong?
Wick, didn't you get a concession out of him that what Biden said was inaccurate?
Well,
no,
I did not. Concession that Trump did not call Nazis fine people. That's
okay.
Do you stand by that? Was I miss? I want to make sure. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Staxioms.
I don't think I conceded that.
Okay, I was wrong.
Okay, no. But here's my question. Okay. Do you think? Let's say Donald Trump, for example, because Donald Trump has met with like Nick Fuentes, right? And he also says, I don't like Nazis. Okay. And then what if he says, I like Nick Fuentes? Do you think that it's fair then? You think it's fair then, even though public knowledge of Nick Fuentes, you think it's fair for me to go, hey, Donald Trump said that he liked a Nazi? Do you think that's a fair statement that I could give? If Donald Trump says, I like Nick Fuentes, and then I substitute Nick Fuentes with a Nazi, do you think I could say?
It depends on the order of how he says it. If he says like I condemn Nazis totally, and then after that, like he meets Nick Fuentes, knows all of Nick Fuentes' beliefs, especially about Jews, and then like says, but I like Nick Fuentes though, right? I think that at that point, the charitable implication would be, I think Donald Trump may have a different definition of Nazi that doesn't include the likes of Nick Fuentes, which is bothersome, right? But if he says it, if the reverse order is flipped, if he says I like Nick Fuentes and then later says that he hates Nazis, and then like obviously he would have to learn about Nick Fuentes' beliefs prior to this condemnation, then I don't think that he's necessarily saying that he likes a Nazi. I think that he's probably much more likely under the impression that his liking of somebody is going to be conditional on them not being a Nazi. But at this time, he doesn't have information yet on the fact that they're a Nazi.
Okay, this is so weird to me. What if I would? Okay, here's new hypothetical. Sorry to just keep running this, but like this feels completely deranged. This feels completely deranged to me.
Oh, does it? Does it feel deranged? Really?
Yeah. What if I was best friends with Nick Fuentes, and then you go, dude, Hunter was best friends with a Nazi. Is that fair? Even if I'm condemning him now, that you were best friends with a Nazi? Yes.
Sure. If he espoused Nazi views at the time, and you knew about that, and you were best friends with him, then sure, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Do you understand how that feels the exact same thing as Biden saying, "Hey, Trump said
it was the same speech. It was the same fucking speech."
What does that have to do with anything?
Because you said, oh, you were friends with Nick Fuentes. You knew his Nazi beliefs, so of course you were friends with the Nazi.
Trump referred past tense to Nazis as good people. There's the past tense.
Not to Nazis. It was the same speech.
I don't even understand what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, I'll explain. The same speech in which you said there were some very fine people on both sides, not the Nazis. I condemn them totally. If you said, I'm friends with a lot of people, not Nick Fuentes though, I condemn him totally. I'm not going to go ahead and say, oh, Staxioms, you said you were friends with people. Nick Fuentes is a person, is he not? Therefore, you are friends with the Nazi. No, you specified not the Nazis.
Wait,
so obviously you weren't referring to fucking Nick Fuentes then, because you specifically said not the Nazis. I mean, what could Donald Trump have said on that August 15th speech that would make you think that he wasn't like sympathizing with the Nazis? Like, what could he have said? Could he have said, oh, there were no fine people whatsoever on any side that was in favor of not removing the monument? Should he have said that?
I think that if you look at the group of people that were, and you watch the videos from the Unite the Right rally from August 11th to August 12th, and you look at the participants of that rally,
I'm sure
you can just fucking condemn everyone in that rally.
Yeah, I'm sure he watched all those videos.
Not all the videos, but definitely see that David Duke was there, that Richard Spencer was there, that Nick Fuentes was there.
Did he condemn them?
That Baked Alaska was there.
Did he condemn them totally? I recall him saying something about condemning them totally.
But he didn't condemn the entire group. He didn't condemn the entire group.
And
that's just such. It's an easy.
Why are you bringing up Richard Spencer then? Why are you bringing up David Duke? Those are the obvious Nazis. You said, oh, this was a rally that had David Duke and Richard Spencer, obvious Nazis. And he specifically condemned the Nazis. So obviously he's not referring to Richard Spencer or David Duke when he's saying there was very fine people. Because they're Nazis, right?
If you said, hey, I'm not a Nazi, but I keep seeing you in fucking protests with Richard Spencer, David Duke, and Nick Fuentes, I think that it's fair to go, hey, I think Lactoid's a little bit of a Nazi.
That is not fair. First of all,
I think there's a little bit of a guilt by association.
That's not even. That's not even what Donald Trump did here. But I disagree with this for separate reasons. I think that it's perfectly fine to argue with people, to engage with people. They did have a permit. I would have been there arguing with them on the ground, and it would have potentially been interesting. Maybe I could have convinced them. I don't know.
But as a counter-protester, though. Well, but if you're marching with the fucking tiki torches, it's a little different.
Oh, sure. If you're marching with the tiki torches, that'd be different. But like,
right, but that's what I'm referring to, and that's who Donald Trump is referring to.
No, he's not, because he specifically said not the Nazis. The people with the tiki torches were the Nazis. Were they not?
No, he does not say that.
No,
he does not say that.
He does not say what? That he condemns Nazis totally?
He didn't say Hold on.
Does he say? Does he say any of the people with the tiki torches were very fine people?
That was the That was the protest. I don't even understand. Of course he does.
Every single person there had a
not every single person, but some of those people.
Some of those people, not every single person. So hold on, maybe like not the Nazis, maybe potentially, maybe some non-Nazis there didn't.
I'm saying if you're a protester who's with the tiki torch shouting, "You will not replace us," with all of the rest of the people, and Richard Spencer's right there, and Nick Fuentes is right there, and David Duke is right there, you're a Nazi. I'm sorry.
Was every single person there shouting "Jews will not replace us" and having tiki torches?
I think yes.
Every single one.
I think that there was largely considered a few dozen people there, so like around like 50 or so people. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking at it, there's about 50 people just in two lines with the tiki torches on the night that Donald Trump is referring to. It's that specific night marching. Yeah, I think you're a Nazi.
Okay, so if I can find a single picture of anybody there who's not holding a tiki torch, you will abandon this entire position.
Is that what you think I'm saying?
Well, no. You're saying that everybody there was having a tiki torch and shouting "Jews will not replace us" because those are the obvious Nazis.
Uh-huh.
And so the people maybe there who weren't doing that, can we just assume that they're Nazis?
Okay, wait, hold on.
Answer that question. Answer that question.
I will answer that question. I promise I will answer that question. Just to be so clear, it would have to be at the same time as people are marching with tiki torches. If someone is just like sort of like standing there at the bylines and not joining in on the protest and is just like, well, I don't know what the fuck that is, that person's not a Nazi. No. But the ones who are standing in line...
Do we know Trump wasn't referring to those people?
Hold on. He was clearly referring to the counter-protesters and the protesters. Those two groups of people.
I think we need to ground this just a little bit. So Staxioms, just to be clear, right? Do you think it's possible, like we've dealt with hypotheticals a lot, but in what Trump stated, right, in his speech, both on the 12th and specifically on the 15th, do you think it's possible that whether he was right or wrong, that he believed that there were good people that weren't Nazis on the side of the take the statue or keep the statue up?
I think that's a tricky question, and I do want to answer that. But I think that the way that he approaches the label Nazi is different than I think other people do. And I think he approaches that...
Can you elaborate on that and give us some specifics?
Please? He treats the label Nazi as, well, those are bad people. Obviously, we beat them in World War II. Hoorah, America, right? But then he listens to people who are shouting a bunch of really deranged things, and he goes, they're all right. They're all right. As soon as he hears the word Nazi, he either goes, okay, well, then they're bad, or he goes, they're not Nazis. You got that wrong. So I think that we need to be careful with that label because people who I would call Nazis are not the same people that Donald Trump would call Nazis. So Donald Trump would look at a person and go, you're not a Nazi. You're a good person, who I would call a Nazi. And I would say Donald Trump just called a Nazi a good person, even though from Donald Trump's eyes, he would look at that person and go, no, dude, this guy's not a Nazi. So obviously, he's a good person.
Can you give me an example?
Nazis are bad people.
Can you give me an example of someone who you feel is a Nazi that Trump said was not a
Nazi? He condemned Nazis and 6 years later or so sat down with Nick Fuentes to discuss strategic... Nick Fuentes had meetings with Kanye West and Donald Trump. I think that if you are so explicitly anti-Nazi, that's not the group of people, especially given what Kanye West's rhetoric was at the time. That's not the kind of group that I would associate myself with, especially as President of the United States.
Well, fair enough. What do you think, Lactoid?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Well, I'm more the answer, right? So my question to Staxioms was, do you think it's possible that Trump really did believe that there were good people in the protesters who were protesting the taking down of the statue, so the ones who wanted to stay up. And he said it's possible, but he says that Trump doesn't deal with the word Nazi in the same way that Staxioms does. So I asked Staxioms whether or not he could give me an example of someone who Staxioms feels is a Nazi that Trump has said is not a Nazi. And he referred to Fuentes as his example, because Fuentes had meetings with Donald Trump, had meetings with Ye as well. My question to you, Lactoid, would be that do you not think that this is a good example of Trump refusing to condemn a Nazi and instead hanging out with him?
So I think the reasonable interpretation here is that he wasn't aware of Nick Fuentes' beliefs about Jews
So you
and
think he
other
was
like
just
Nazi.
ignorant on it?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's reasonable. I think it's
You-
very reasonable. Hold on, you had
Yeah,
answer
valid.
time.
No, valid. Sorry.
I think it's very reasonable for again when we're looking at like what's the most likely interpretation here. Not even like the most charitable, which is what we should be doing, but what's the most likely interpretation here? The most likely interpretation here is obviously the dude who has like whose son-in-law is like a Jewish guy that he loves. He loves Jews. He can't stop talking about it. And I think it's the most reasonable outcome here, or the interpretation here, is that he is only aware of select things, and he's only aware of things based on the information that he gets, whether it be from his advisors, or whether it be from the news, or whether it be from meetings he has. And there's obviously, when you're dealing with a country of over 300 million people, there's going to be gaps in your knowledge. You're going to be dealing with people that you might not know who they are.
Do you not think a
I think it's
president
very.
gets briefed on who he's having dinner with?
I think it's probably the case that Trump did not know Nick Fuentes' anti-Semitic beliefs. No, I think that it's much more likely, because why would Trump support Nick Fuentes knowing his Jewish, like his anti-Jewish beliefs?
Just to be clear, this is also like, I want to say, I would really have to double check these facts. So don't take this with a grain of salt. But I know it was after, and it was less than a year. I think it was like a month after Ye's comments about Hitler going on Alex Jones' show, talking about how Jews forced him out of Adidas. Like these were pretty big headlines, and he was ousted by essentially everyone except for Donald Trump. I want to be clear. I think that Donald Trump considers Kanye West not a Nazi. I think he looks at that person and he goes, I don't know. I think that he's willing. I like the guy. I think that he kind of says how he feels, and I think he's like, do I agree with everything that he's saying? No, but I don't consider him a Nazi, because Nazi to me are the people who killed the Jews, who exterminated them. I look at anyone here in America, especially ones who espouse my views. Those guys aren't Nazis. Okay, those are the good people. And so when I say I condemn Nazis, I'm referring to a very specific group of people that don't include the people that I'm interacting with. But I do. Hunter does, right?
So
like
I'll just say this, right? Because again, we're circling a little bit, but I do want to say this, right? That I think that when it comes to the statements made on the 15th and the 12th, yeah, I think it's just clear, given the transcripts, that Trump condemned the Nazis. Right? I think it was just clear.
Not on August 12th, August 15th. August 12th, he did not denounce Nazis. He refused to.
However, I find it strains my credulity to think that Trump did not know who Fuentes was and what he believed when he had dinner with him. I'll tell you this, if I have someone on my show that has any kind of problematic things, I'm getting DMs about it. I'm not the president. I'm no one. I don't vet my guests and things like the president almost certainly does, right? Because this isn't something where they were at a large event together and happened to be in the same room. They had specifically dinner together. So it strains my credulity to think that Trump was simply unaware of Fuentes' problematic beliefs. I just don't. That is where I
can add some explanation for that.
Please.
So just very briefly looking it up, the comments that Ye made on Alex Jones, like the crazy shit in which he went full like Nazi, that was in December. The dinner happened in November. Nick Fuentes
I'm talking about Fuentes, though, right? Not
Fuentes was a guest from Ye. Ye brought him. Fuentes was not invited by the White House. And Donald Trump specifically said that he did not know who Fuentes was. He didn't know about Fuentes' history. He was simply a guest from Ye. Ye was the one invited, and the shit that Ye started saying wasn't until the next month in December.
Wait, hold
So
on.
yes, there's
Because
plenty
there's
of
the
plausible
Alex
deniability
Jones
there.
comments, but it was, if you remember, Ye said a whole string of crazy shit. So we would really have to look at the timeline of what Ye has said, because I know that he was a dicey topic when Donald Trump agreed to meet with him. He didn't go on Alex Jones' show, sure. But he also was on what was the podcast? It was like Charlemagne, I think, where he was just talking about how angry he was at Jews for pulling him from his Nike deal. I believe it was some shoe deal. It might have been Adidas or something. But he
there
was
was a
mad at
whole
Jews in
host
particular.
of tweets, comments, etc. that were reported.
I mean, yeah, Planned Parenthood was made by Margaret Sanger, who had known eugenics with the KKK to control the Jew population. When I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah. He preaches black black Israelite conspiracies that Jews are basically just people who had like black people are the real congenitors of Jewishness, and these like the people we call Jews are basically just sneaky people who came
And
in and
even as
stole
a
it from black
plus
people.
one, do you not think he's briefed? And like, do you think that no one knew at all? No one knew, and Ye just brought him through security, through the Secret Service. No one checked, and he was simply like, "Oh, there's this guy I decided to bring."
No, I'm sure he was checked by Secret Service for like a security check. But no, I don't think that Donald Trump did like a full
So
like
I'll tell you about when they tried to. Sure,
Just to be
Fuentes' like
clear,
political background, because
just to be clear,
I'm looking at this here, like the shit in which like Ye starts going like off the fucking rails. Like he's saying stuff that could be interpreted as anti-Semitic prior to December to Alex Jones's show, but the reason why the Alex Jones like show was so incendiary is because that's when the mask like theoretically comes completely off. I know he's wearing a mask during it, but when you're looking at the statements that he makes prior, they're questionable, right? And you can say that like again, maybe Trump should have been better at like knowing the suggestions that were being made. One right here, he said Margaret Sanger was a known eugenicist. That's true, and founded Planned Parenthood with the Klan to control the Jew population. And when I say Jew, I mean the 12 lost tribes of Judah, the blood of Christ, who are the people known as the race black really are. So yes, there's a little bit of like
what about
Hotep.
There's a little bit
of hold on. There's a little bit of Hotep shit going on in there for
Mhm.
sure. But the main thrust of that is a pro-life sentiment, where it's not 100% clear here, like if this is like condemning the Jews.
Okay, one, that's a huge reach for sure. But two,
It's
how
not a
about this?
reach.
How about this tweet on October 8th, which, by the way, a month before Donald Trump meets with Kanye West? I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON
DEFCON
3 on
Mhm.
Jewish people. Not DEFCON, DEFCON. The funny thing is I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually Jew. Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball anyone whoever opposes your agenda. Like DEFCON 3 on Jewish people in all caps. And
Look,
Donald Trump's like,
I'm not going to defend that particular statement.
no, I
don't think that tweet alone, especially again, given that the shit really starts happening when we have the Alex Jones show. I don't think that tweet is enough to like categorize Kanye West as a Nazi. I don't.
okay.
If I posted that on Twitter, I don't think people should assume that I'm a Nazi. I think people should have questions about it, but I don't think that's enough to determine that somebody's a Nazi.
I think that this is a really
Tweet it
good
out right
example of
now.
how
Do it.
the threat, yeah, no, for real, that there is a different threshold that Donald Trump has for the word Nazi and every other human being in existence. And when Biden speaks, guess what? He's a normal fucking human being who sees comments like
He's
this
not a
and
normal human being.
okay, fine. He uses the word Nazi in a normal way, where he sees statements like this and he goes, those are Nazis. And he called Donald Trump a normal person. And from Donald Trump's eyes, he goes, I didn't call Nazis good people. This person is not a Nazi. That's why he meets my threshold. And then you look at what this person believes, and it's Nazi shit. That's my point. The word Nazi isn't this purely like atomic sentence that like everyone can look at and have the exact same interpretation. Words don't work that way. English language doesn't work that way. Donald Trump has a different interpretation than Joe Biden does. But Joe Biden is way more accurate with how the rest of the world treats the word Nazi.
Do you think
I don't think that's true.
Biden thinks that everyone at that rally who was on the pro side was a Nazi?
Yes, I think that would be fair to say as well. I believe that as well.
Okay. And you believe that. You think that everyone You think that Biden believes that, and you believe that specifically, that at the
Yes.
Unite the Right rally, everyone who was protesting the statue being removed was a Nazi.
Yes. And Donald Trump said, I don't like you crazies, but I'm okay with you guys because to me, to Donald Trump, you're not a Nazi. But to Hunter, you are. So he called Nazis good people. That's my point.
So I don't believe that every single person involved in that protest was a Nazi. I think it's, from what I understand, one of the organizations that put it on was Anti-Com Action, which is, with the ideology within Anti-Com Action ranges. There are some problematic elements for sure, but there's also large segments of Anti-Com Action that are not Nazis, right? They're sort of right-wing anti-communists, and their belief system is like, these fucking communists. They're trying to do X, Y, Z. They were one of the organizers of that event, and they were there. I think it's more than likely. And now, but going back to something you said, Staxioms, I think that because Nazi has no firm definition, you could convince yourself that not only was Biden correct, because you could say, well, Trump was not referring to some group as Nazis. He was only referring to like certain people there as Nazis. But there were people there that were Nazis that in Trump's mind were not Nazis, but I would say are Nazis. The problem with saying that, though, is when, first of all, you're reading into very, very explicitly, you're trying to read into what Donald Trump thinks is a Nazi at that rally, as opposed to what he actually said, right? Remember, hold on. Remember,
Sure.
Biden said that Trump called Nazis very fine people. Not that, specifically
people who
Trump,
were Nazis.
Yeah, it's Trump. Not that Trump had some kind of belief as to some of the people there that we would all agree are Nazis are not Nazis, but that, or that he doesn't think are Nazis. Biden said that he called them Nazis, which is a lie about what Donald Trump said. And that lie is important because we can interpret, if we want to, we can interpret anything, anybody as a Nazi. For example, Staxons, when you call Democrats very fine people, I could say you're calling Nazis very fine people because Democrats are Nazis. Democrats are Nazis. You're calling them fine. You're calling Nazis very fine people. According to me.
Hold on. That's not how language works, even a little bit. Like I can send you some Wittgenstein articles if you like. But the way that language works is we all.
That is ridiculous. You're not going to appeal to some Wittgenstein. No,
I'll tell you how language. I'll tell you how language doesn't fucking
Nazis? Work. For the purposes of this argument, sure, why not?
No. My point is that the way language works is we all have some sort of communal understanding of what words mean.
What is wait, communal understanding? What does called mean?
Explain.
If you say, sure, Donald Trump called Nazi. I'll read the exact transcript. I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay, wait, hold on. I understand what you're saying.
No, I'm going to read it because I don't want to get it. I don't want to get it wrong. I want to be very explicit about what I say. So, okay. What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, so specifically the ones carrying torches and singing anti-Semitic bile,
which were all of them,
carrying swastikas, so every single one of them carrying torches, singing anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas. Those people, Biden was saying, quote, what American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people. So I'm going to ask you about common language here.
Right.
What does it mean when you say that somebody said that these people over here who were coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing anti-Semitic bile, and carrying swastikas, that's what these people were doing? Biden said that Trump referred to these people, the people carrying swastikas. These people were fine people.
Here's the problem.
Do you think that Donald Trump was referring to the people carrying swastikas as very fine people?
Hold on. Let me look at.
I need an answer to this before we move on. Do you think that Donald Trump was referring to the people who were carrying swastikas?
Well, I want to point to one problem with the ambiguity of language.
Swastikas. Okay? No. I'm asking you a personal question. Do you believe that Donald Trump was referring to the people who were carrying swastikas as very fine people?
I don't remember if I saw videos of everyone carrying swastikas, but I did see everyone carrying tiki torches. I wouldn't be surprised if there were
Staxioms,
swastikas that
asking
were.
about the people who were carrying swastikas. So the ones who were carrying
No.
swastikas.
It depends on if everyone was or if some were. Does that make sense? That would
No.
depend on the lie.
Hold on. No, I'm confused. So
Okay.
what Lactoid is asking is that if you believe when Trump was referring to very fine people on both sides, if that included the people who were specifically holding swastikas at the Unite the Right rally, do you think that he was referring to those people specifically as very fine people in his statement?
No.
Okay.
No, I do not.
Okay.
So what Biden said was inaccurate, right?
Okay, but two things.
So then what Biden said was inaccurate when he said what he said.
First, moving the goalposts, because that's not the lie that you said that Biden was making.
I read the quote when we started this discussion. I read it. What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields, carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? I read it. I sent it to you beforehand. I sent this to you an hour beforehand. It specifically says carrying swastikas. Biden said that. Biden attributed Donald Trump as calling the people carrying swastikas as very fine people. That was a lie, wasn't it?
Yes.
So Biden lied.
Biden lied about that specific part, and I would have removed.
So I'm not a liar.
Wait, hold on.
I'm not a liar when I said Biden was a liar. I'm not a liar.
How about this? How about this?
Thank you.
Lactoid. New question. What if Biden instead said Donald Trump called Nazis who were carrying tiki torches, chanting vile threats, good people? Is that a lie? Could he just change his language to that, and that would be fine?
Is that what he said? To be clear, I just want to make sure that
it's so close. Though.
It's not what he said.
So close. But if he said that, would that not be a lie? That would be fine, right?
So if he said something different than what he actually said, would he? Okay, well, if you want to go,
if he said something different than what he actually said,
no. My question. First off, here's the frustration that I have. First off, this is not the only time that people have been on the media's case for saying that Donald Trump called Nazis good people. Donald Trump did call Nazis good people. He did not call the category of Nazis the category of good people, but he did say that people who are Nazis were good people. Does that make sense?
$10 from Doobie. Staxioms has no idea what he's talking about. The Tiki Torch rally was a smaller march before the large Unite the Right rally. Trump's conference was referencing the larger rally where the woman died.
That is not true, and I can point to the exact fucking point in his statement where he says the night before. Well, let's just do Control F. Night before. Not that. Hold on. Let me transcript. Night. Oh, no, not that one.
I have it up.
This one. Cool. Just Control F night before and then read that to Doobie.
The reporter asks, just for some context, the reporter asks, "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly? I don't understand what you're saying." Trump says, people want me to do the voice. I'm going to try, but please.
Please do, yeah.
Okay. No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people. Neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest. Because I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I'll only tell you this, there are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country. A horrible moment. But there are two sides to the country. That's what I said.
Here's my point.
I apologize, by the way.
Those people were Nazis. Okay? Donald Trump has when he goes, oh, well, look, I don't like Nazis. I don't like Nazis. I don't like Nazis because we beat them in World War II. Okay? But these people, these are good people. I like these people. And everyone else is like, bro, those are fucking Nazis. And he goes, look, I don't like Nazis, but I love these people. He called Nazis good people. He said some people who were Nazis were good people.
I feel like we're kind of possibly returning a little bit of old ground because the response to this is again,
of course we are.
Yeah.
Circle.
Look, I'm already getting. I'm getting over the high a little bit of the concession that I was right. So give me a second.
If that was your whole point, is that he shouldn't have just said that the swastika is carrying.
I'm still coming down from being right. Give me a second. I said it's euphoric for me. Okay, I love it. This is why I do this. But I think we're going to retread is that there are such things as conditional statements, and what a condition is in logic is if condition Y, then X happens, or if condition no, then B happens, right? X, Y, A, B, right? You understand what I'm trying to say? Sure. And when you put forward a conditional statement of, oh, I like all the people in here except the pedophiles or the PDF, whatever. I'm just gonna fucking say it. Sorry, the pedophiles, right? And then it turns out that all of them are pedophiles. You can't take that statement to mean, even if you're skeptical of somebody potentially liking people who are pedophiles, you can't take that statement to mean he said that he liked all the pedophiles, because you're ignoring the conditional statement. This is an error of logic. Even if you're right that Donald Trump actually secretly loves Nazis, even if you're right that his conception of Nazi is way more limited, and in fact a lot of people are Nazis that he wouldn't consider Nazis, that can all be correct. But what Biden said, which is that he called these people very fine people, that is wrong, because it was a conditional statement. These are fine people except for the Nazis, except for the white supremacists.
Okay.
The people there who were Nazis and were white supremacists were not included in the very fine people. That's the purpose of a conditional statement.
Okay, first off, not really what a conditional statement is. A conditional statement usually follows the form if P then Q. But
that's an example of one type of conditional statement, but what I said is also a conditional statement.
Incorrect. That's a proposition.
Not incorrect. If P then Q, if they're Nazis, then I don't like them. That is a conditional statement. It is a condition. No.
But he's saying
do X.
I like these people except for these people. Not if these people are these things, then I wouldn't like them.
If he says except for, he's saying that if they were Nazis, he wouldn't like them.
Okay, here's my problem. That's
the same thing. If he's saying except I like you guys except for you over there, he's saying that if you're one of those people over there, he doesn't like you. It's a conditional statement.
Yeah, you could reorder the statement so that it's conditional, but I wouldn't call it a conditional statement. Okay, but here's my problem, Lactoid.
We could reorder everything, and then you'll be right, Lactoid, I guess. But I'm going to argue with it in a particular order that I like.
Because you're the one who cited logic. So
I'm the only one that cited logic this entire fucking debate. Staxioms, just admit that I'm right. Just do it. Just say definitively, Lactoid, Biden sucks. He's a liar. He lied.
Here's my question. I genuinely don't understand why you can't concede this one point. Let's say that Donald Trump doesn't like Nazis, and when he says the word Nazis, what he means is fucking people who were taken down in 1940s. Okay, 1940s Germany.
Yeah,
okay?
That's
let's
what
just
he was
say.
referring to.
Let's just no. I'm not saying that's what he did, but let's just say he was, okay. And then he said, I don't like Nazis, but these are good people, okay. And he's pointing to a neo-Nazi, and he goes, that doesn't meet my definition of Nazi. But every single person on this panel would go, dude, that's a fucking Nazi that you just pointed to. Did he just call Nazis good people?
Yes, if he specifically points out someone who is a Nazi, and we already went through this logic. If he specifically points out somebody who is a Nazi and says, that person's good, but I don't like the Nazis, that would imply that Donald Trump has a different perception of what a Nazi is. And then that could lead to follow-up questions, but you can't make the jump then to say that he calls Nazis very fine people. At most, you can say, that he has called this. Hold on. You can say that he's called Nazis. Those Nazi people, right? Yes, this Nazi or anybody else that he points to, he called them very fine people.
Right.
Yes, but that is. Hold on.
So that's what I keep asking.
That is not what happened here. That is not what happened here. What happened here is there was a group of people, and he said, "I like those people except for the Nazis." And what you are assuming that he does have this belief that the Nazis in the crowd would not meet his category of Nazi. You have no evidence for that, first of all.
I think my evidence is that he pointed to people in the crowd. Rather than him pointing to no one in the crowd, he's actually pointing to the people that we would all consider Nazis and not call them Nazis. Yes.
No, he didn't point. He didn't point. A much more plausible explanation is that he was under the impression that there were people in that crowd that did not fit the criteria that all of us would agree upon would be Nazis, including him, especially when we're considering what they were chanting, aka Jews will not replace us. That's a much more hold on. That is a much more reasonable explanation of the intention of Donald Trump here. But you're refusing to acknowledge that.
I think that reasonable explanation requires you to acknowledge the fact that he has sat down with multiple Nazis, has failed to condemn white nationalists on multiple times. Like, we can point to the debate stage.
Even if that's true,
we can point to all of these reasonable points and say maybe he has a different definition and a different threshold for Nazis that's way higher than everyone else.
You're right. Maybe he does. Maybe it's true. And then maybe Biden could have said that. But Biden said that he said,
which is why
Biden said that he said. You can't look into someone's mind.
He didn't fucking quote you. He didn't quote him. He didn't say he quoted Nazis were good people. He said, he said that Nazis were good people. Okay.
No. He said right here, what American president would ever say Nazis coming out of the fields?
You're insane.
Carrying torches. Singing the same anti-Semitic bile. I'm sure.
You think that was a quote? You think that he was quoting Donald Trump? That Donald Trump said quote?
No. I'm not saying that was a quote. I'm saying that's still a lie because you're saying that Donald Trump said that the Nazis carrying torches, singing anti-Semitic bile, and carrying swastikas were fine people. You already agreed that was a lie.
We're going to erase wearing swastikas, and that statement is exactly correct. That's a 100% correct statement.
But, okay, let's remove the swastikas. You think then that the people singing Jews will not replace us, the anti-Semitic bile, you think Donald Trump doesn't think they're Nazis either?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Because who the fuck is he referring to then? Who could he be talking about? Who could he be looking at that crowd and going, actually, these guys are all right? Who could he be referring to? Else not.
Throwing a flag on the play, because this is the same thing we were talking about an hour ago. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move to closing arguments, closing statements, and then after we do that, I want a brief after-action report with both of you, just very, very short, right? We'll keep it brief, but because there's been some crazy shit that has been done in this whole thing, and I just want to talk about it for a minute just so my brain doesn't explode. I guess you don't have to say. I'll just rant to my chat. But let's give closing arguments. I'm going to let Lactoid go first, and then Staxioms can have the last word. And remember, we're talking about whether or not Biden lied. We've got a lot of places, right? But that's what we're talking about. So we're going to give it to Staxioms first. Or no, I'm sorry, Lactoid first, and then Staxioms, and then we're going to close it out. And make sure to tell people where they can find you as well. I got their links in my YouTube description too. You can just click on their names to their YouTube. But go ahead, Lactoid, please.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I think, an example. There was a couple days ago, I was arguing with two Democrats in a bar, actually, who were arguing with me that Donald Trump faked his assassination attempt. That it's very obvious that a SEAL Team 6 member could have clipped his ear in order to rally up support from his base. And I tried to argue with them because, I like shooting and the idea of this is just absolutely insane. Like that you could train somebody who would be able to clip someone's ear. Absolutely crazy. But they were very adamant. Well, no, it's just too good. It's just too obvious. He's the kind of person that would do this, obviously. And what I've realized is, I can talk all day about, the finer points of marksmanship, the person who was killed there, and everything else I want. But the reason why they're not going to accept what I'm having to say is because they come from a position of ultimate skeptic. They come from a position of complete bias, of entirely anti-charity towards this person because they hate this person. They see this person as the embodiment of all evil. They see this person's probably worse than Nazis. They see this person as a fundamental threat to this country. You've heard them say it. And when it comes to a fundamental threat to this country, you can't believe what he has to say. Obviously, everything that he does is antithetical to everything that we hold dear. He is evil. And this is exactly what happened. This is how the media treated Donald Trump. And this is exactly how people generally in the United States treated Donald Trump after his statements on Charlottesville. There was a clip chimp of August 15th when they took a specific statement that Donald Trump said, despite the fact that he immediately followed up by condemning white nationalists and Nazis totally. That was never commented upon, that wasn't elaborated on by the mainstream media or by detractors of Donald Trump. What was instead commented on was he called the Nazis very fine people. Donald Trump did not say that. You can believe that in his head he likes the Nazis, but that has nothing to do with what he said. What he said was the Nazis should be condemned totally. Do we know what his definition of Nazis are? Do we know what anybody's definition of Nazis are? Technically not. But he said that the Nazis should be condemned totally. And so when Joe Biden goes on the debate stage and prior to the debate as well, and after the debate, and continues to spread this misinformation that Donald Trump said this is worthy of criticism. It is worthy to point out that Biden has lied about this. Maybe his brain's pudding. That's plausible, but it absolutely is a lie. And when I brought this up last time, Staxiom said, "No, Lactoid, you're the liar, because you said that Biden lied." But now that we've established, and we can roll back the tape, we've established that Biden did lie during the statement. When I said that Biden lied, I obviously was not lying, which makes me right and not a liar. And Staxioms, I look forward to your apology for calling me a liar and your retraction of said statement, and also an acknowledgement that Joe Biden, in the same way perhaps that Trump should be quicker on condemning Nazi elements, Biden should be better at not repeating misinformation and stating misinformation to paint his political opponents as Nazis. And if you like what I had to say, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks.
Go check him out, gang. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. This was many things. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did. Staxioms, go ahead.
Hi, I'm going to go ahead and just do a couple quotes. We're going to do McInnes first, Gavin McInnes, who said, "Been asked a lot about this Unite the Right thing going on in August. The elders have told me to disavow. I get that it's about free speech and we want everyone, even white nationalists, to have that right, but I think it's coming at a time when we need to distance ourselves from them. I'm not punching right. I'm just not coming to your rally. No offense. The rally is not about uniting the right. It is an attempt to lump civic nationalists in with ethno-nationalists in order to make them seem like the same thing. Fuck that." I will also quote Donald Trump in 2020 when asked to condemn white nationalists. Says Trump, do you want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a head. Go ahead. Wallace says white supremacists and right wing. Trump says, who do you want me to condemn? Who? Biden says the Proud Boys. Wallace says white supremacists and right wing militias. Trump says the Proud Boys stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what, somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left. Donald Trump has had multiple chances to condemn white nationalists, and he tries at any attempt to not to. I think that this speaks to his character. And I do want to apologize because Biden was, in fact, lying. What Biden should have said was Donald Trump called people who were Nazis very fine people. That's what he should have said. And if he did that, Lactoid obviously would say, hey, well, that's fair. Maybe I'll jump off Biden for just a second, because that's clearly a factual statement. So Biden should have just reordered his statement there, and then all of the conservatives would have calmed down and said, you know what? That's a fair statement, Biden. Trump did say that, in fact. So you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok.
Okay.
Staxioms everywhere.
Gang. I think we've had a great day, great debate. I think it was clear that Lactoid was just factually correct when it came to the statements that Trump made. He obviously, as we've read several times, condemned the Nazis at the rally. However, I think this is a very good indication of lack of charity towards Biden, because whereas Lactoid, again, states that a lot of Democrats, many of them, because the media has pushed this narrative, clip-chimped, etc., for years, right? They legitimately believe, they're not lying when they say this, they legitimately believe that that's what Trump said. So to the idea that Biden has to be lying, that there's only a 5 to 10% chance that he was just wrong, right? Whereas when we talked about Trump, he is probably wrong. He probably just didn't know who Fuentes was. And I think there is a asymmetry here when it comes to the charity we're willing to give. Where he is correct, though, on, Trump just didn't say that. But Yeah, that's my 2 cents. But yo, what is with the Staxioms? Can I just ask you?
Yeah.
Do you have these? Did you pre-write any of these hypotheticals? Were they just off the
No,
dome?
off the dome.
Okay, thank God.
I have a lot of friends who are Nazis though, so
Do you really?
it's all my MAGA supporter friends. Yeah, everyone who supports Donald Trump, I just go
Exactly.
Nazi. I point to them and I shout Nazi at them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Aircraft Sparky says, Wick, I challenge you to a debate on what? It's my birthday tomorrow, gang.
Happy birthday.
What are you guys gonna get me?
I'll get you the peace of not having to debate this anymore. Are you doing a debate show tomorrow? Or are you spending your time
I'll
off?
probably do just Collins.
Oh,
simple.
streaming on your
Something
birthday.
easy. So gang, here's what we got coming up. Tomorrow is my birthday stream. I don't know how long it'll be, but I'll start around 6, and I'll give you all a chance to give me money, and that's what this is for, to be clear. I might sing some songs for you. I might read some poetry to you. I might dance for you. There could be all sorts of things that happen. I don't know. You don't know. We're going to find out together. Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be talking about Kamala Harris and whether or not it is correct to call her the border czar when it comes to issues at the border. We have a great group. It's going to be a fun discussion. And I do need another conservative voice for that. So if you are a conservative person that wants to jump into a Thursday debate, 6 p.m. Eastern, please contact me. Is there anything from either of you that you would like to say or bring up or talk about before we rate out? And also, Lactoid, are you going to continue to be streaming tonight?
Not for too long.
Okay, so I'll rate someone else on. Okay. Anything from either of you?
I think I'm good.
Are you fully on board with Harris?
Me,
Staxiom?
absolutely, absolutely.
Do you like her more than do you like her more than Biden? Or do you like Biden more?
I think that Biden has incredible policies that I can't. I mean, like, I don't know if Kamala could step up to the plate and do things like the Inflation Reduction Act, like the CHIPS Act, like all of the great policies that Biden did. But when it comes to her messaging, when it comes to her enthusiasm, when it comes to her as a political candidate, I think that she's miles better than Biden.
Do you think that she's more left wing than Biden is?
It depends on the issue. I think that there are places where she's to the right and places where she's to the left. I think with healthcare is a pretty notable example that she's to the left of Biden. I forgot where I was thinking, but I remember her making statements that I was like, "Oh, I think Biden would be way more progressive than her on that." I can't think of anything off the top of my head though. But Wick is Biden's #1 supporter, so maybe he.
I like Biden more than Harris.
Do you feel like, just to ask Lactoid's question, do you think that she is more progressive than Biden?
I don't know. I think that she's said a few things during the 2020 that were to the left of Biden. I think that whether or not that was her simply trying to garner the progressive vote from the 2020 primaries,
Sure.
Or whether those were her actual policies, I don't know. During her time as Attorney General, her policies were fairly moderate. I mean, they're still lean left, obviously. It was California, after all. But I think that I find no fault in her Attorney General policies that I'm aware of. My issue with Harris is I don't. Obviously, she's better than Trump. I want to get that out of the way there. Like, Trump isn't even like Lactoid said that Biden isn't even a consideration, or Democrats aren't even a consideration. For me, Trump isn't even a consideration, right? But when it comes to Harris, I just don't know what she's done that I'm like, yeah, I'm for this. The things I can point to were her supporting of Biden's policies when it comes to the CHIPS Act, the infrastructure bill, all those things. Those were great. And she was part of the team, no doubt. But what has she done specifically? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of the hard part about being vice president is that she isn't really in power at all. Like, she's just kind of there just in case Biden ends up dying or being decommissioned in some way. So like, she was part of the team, but certainly less so than any of his cabinet members were.
So according to GovTrack, apparently she was rated the second most liberal member of the 116th Congress between 2019 and 2018.
Wow.
So she was just behind Bernie Sanders.
I don't know how they rate those. Again, this is one of those things where people say shit, and I'd have to look into the specifics.
So you would agree, you would say, Lactoid, that she is definitely more progressive than Biden, right?
I mean, from what I know, I don't know all of her positions. I know that based on, I guess, GovTrack's analysis, based on what I remember from the 2020 primary, I remember her as definitely being much more progressive. And I remember specifically looking at like which candidate would like raise spending the most.
Hold on, what
And if
policy
I remember
has she
correctly, I think she
passed
was.
that was super progressive?
So again,
Wait, what policy she passed? Was she ever in a legislative position?
She was a senator,
Yeah,
right?
she was.
Yeah.
So, duh. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm guessing
as
she
you
voted
would
for
ask
everything
me,
Democrat.
as you would ask
right?
me, like, why do you like? This is a question like, why do you support Harris? What policy says she passed that you like, right? I would ask you, like, if you're going to call her or allude to her being one of the second most progressive senator, second most progressive legislator. Okay, what are those policies that she's advocated for and passed?
So I don't know the exact policies. All I know
that's
the
the
two things.
game. That's the issue,
Well,
right?
no, that's not the game, because I said the two things that I'm using to base my perception that she's more progressive is the GovTrack analysis, which is a nonpartisan organization that rates these people, and from what I recall from her 2020 primary run, her proposals would have racked up government spending more than I think most of the other people on the 2020 Democratic primaries. I can find that information. I do recall that. In terms of what she actually did as senator, I'm just going off of what GovTrack says that her voting record as a senator was the most progressive.
I'm looking at her Wikipedia article on her tenure as senator. And she pushed really hard against the Trump's executive order, like the Muslim ban. The
Does that count as progressive? I don't know.
No, I know, and like a lot of these feel like something that kind of every Democrat does. Like, was against a lot of the like Kavanaugh's sexual assault things.
Well,
she
also
did
voted
call
against
for the
Neil
resignation
Gorsuch,
of. Yeah, she called for the resignation of Al Franken, but I think didn't every Democrat hate? I think they might have been split on Al Franken.
No, the calling for the resignation of Al Franken was a split within a lot of Democrats.
So she took the side
honestly, the people who called, I did not like that at all. I think Al Franken was done dirty. I think Al Franken should still have remained in. I think he was pushed out and caved to pressure when he really absolutely shouldn't have. Looking at the evidence against him was so nothing, right? Now, I think it's fair to go through a review process.
Just to be clear,
hold on, let me finish. To go through like an ethics board or something so they can make sure. But they didn't even do that. They just fucking pushed him out, and I'm still salty about that, to be clear.
This is right off the Wikipedia. In 2019, the nonpartisan GovTrack organization ranked Harris as the most politically left United States senator, as well as the least likely senator among Democrats to join bipartisan bills. So apparently there was multiple bipartisan bills that she refused to join in.
I do see that. Just to be fair to the conversation, there was a picture that surfaced where Al Franken was groping a woman. I think she was a military officer.
He wasn't actually. I don't think he was actually touching her. I think his hands were hovering above her.
Okay, valid.
But it was also like at the height of Me Too, so you're gonna get
valid. Hit. Yeah, but yeah, I pointed to. I do think that they were split on Al Franken, but I think almost every Democrat opposed the Neil Gorsuch, especially after what happened with Garland. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like almost every Democrat came against that.
But okay, gang. Thank you for the conversation. It's been real. We've had a real time here. Thank you, both of you. I love you. Gang, give them both follows. Like, if you're watching me, you should be going and subscribing to each of these individuals. And remember, I'll see you guys tomorrow for my birthday. Hooray, birthday! We're going to raid out into Socrates TV, and then we're going to say bye-bye.
Okay.
Wave, everyone. Wave. Bye-bye. Bye. 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 Okay.
What the fuck?
What?
Just something else that I'm saying. She was an early co-sponsor of Green New Deal.